sir, we are getting the first statement from the Cabinet Committee on Security officially stating that the Red Fort bombing were the attempt, the vehicle attack was a VBID, was a terror attack. So it's official now. Of course, when a case was registered under sections of the UAPA and the investigation was handed over to the National Investigation Agency, it was officially a terror investigation that had been initiated. But the government has now officially confirmed that the Delhi blast was a terror attack. Dr. Soumya Avasthi, does this change the nature of the direction of the investigation? NIA is investigating it. There are cases under UAPA that have already been registered. Does it add momentum to the investigations? Does it now, become more focused in its approach to deal with, ma'am?
Yes, given the fact that UAPA was evoked at that time, it's really clear that any kind of attack on the national symbols, which Red Fort is equivalent to attacking the sovereignty of the nation. And because of that, this act had to be implemented. And now the investigation will actually get expedited. There will be a special court which will be in place, and the suspects will be under remand for 180 days before the charge sheet is filed. So that gives a lot of time for the investigative agencies to move forward with a focused mind. And given the fact that there is a clear indication already, and which was likely in this case more inclined towards Jaish-e-Mohammed because of the women doctor involved. And
Yes.
she was apparently also claimed to be heading the women wing, which was also inducting online courses for women to follow jihad and radicalization. You asked a very important question on radicalization, and I think given the fact that now the social media and the way gaming applications are being used, so radicalization is not limited to universities or madrasas, but it has gone beyond that into the digital world. So it is becoming a big challenge for the nation to counter radicalization. But simultaneously, I think we need to do more. We need to have stronger laws on how the gaming applications as well as the social media platforms are being used for propaganda and for signaling. And so that is where I feel the challenge lies.
In Sushant Sarin into this conversation, because Sushant Sarin, what I find extremely worrisome in this case is the fact that you have medical doctors, people you and I would go to saying, heal us, look after us. We trust them to nurture us back to health. These are the people who are actually plotting to kill us. I mean, whether it's this group of doctors from Jammu and Kashmir or Uttar Pradesh, or the doctor from Hyderabad who was trying to make some chemical toxin to mix in fruit and vegetables, and in one report that I read, in Prasad, and kill as many innocent people in crowded places. How widespread are the terror tentacles of these doctors? What do you do in such a case?
Yeah, Gaurav, no, I don't want to be facetious about this, but the fact of the matter is anybody who wants to kill me, I don't care whether it's a doctor, engineer, an MBA, somebody working in an MNC, I don't care. But the point is a terrorist is a terrorist. Now, this
No,
particular...
but the fact is that a doctor you would trust, an Ajmal Amir Kassab, you'd probably be aware of. You'd stay at an arm's length. A doctor you would go to and say, you're treating me or you're treating my family.
I don't think I would have gone to these doctors anyways, but the bottom line is that, look, the fact of the matter remains that, look, you have to understand that there is a climate in which there is a bunch of people who start getting radicalized. In this particular case, it's a bunch of doctors. In another case, it could be a bunch of engineers. Gaurav, there's a question I've often asked people in security services. When 10 or 15, for example, students in a university are sitting down, let's take, for want of a better word, Jamia Millia University or Aligarh Muslim University or one of these universities. People of a particular persuasion, people of a particular faith, and that could be any faith, what are they talking about? What are the conversations happening between them? What are the things which are agitating them? I know what my kids are discussing. They're discussing pop music, they're discussing jobs, they're discussing, all kinds of new things which are happening. What are other kids discussing? I think we are completely blind to this. As a result, when these things erupt, we are taken by shock. How come very educated people from really rich or well-to-do families who don't need to take to terrorism, why are they doing
Yes.
it? Terrorists are not doing it because they want to make money. Terrorists are doing it because they have been convinced that this is the path forward. This is the path to Jannat. So I think we need to be very careful, and we need to be, very aware of what is this menace that we are dealing with. And
Okay.
unfortunately, despite 40 years of dealing with it, I still don't think we have adequate understanding.
Or are we too soft? Are we too unwilling to call a spade, Ms. Nirmal Kaur, and go after these elements? And is this, in your view, ma'am, while it may have been good intelligence and good operations in nabbing these elements before they could carry out that big terror attack, sadly, 8 to 10 people still lost their lives. Is this an intelligence failure if this indoctrination was on from 2021-22 and they still succeeded in carrying out a terror attack in 2025? Is this a failure of intelligence at multiple levels, including what these chaps were talking in their colleges and universities and were being radicalized by that paramedic?
That's universal knowledge. That's universal knowledge, and that is there's nothing, that fault lines are so deeply drawn. And what you're saying is the terrorists have to succeed only once. The security agencies to succeed all the time. There's this message that sent by IRA man to Margaret Thatcher. Okay, we fix,
Yes.
but we have to succeed only once, and you have to succeed all. So I wouldn't call it as an intelligence failure, but universal, it is in front of your own eyes. You refuse to see it. There is this Khoja Muslim family that migrates to some place in Africa 250 years ago. The son makes it big, and he's claiming Muslim identity. In India, Shias and Sunnis do not even acknowledge Khojas as Muslims. They came to India to escape persecution at the hands of Muslims. That's how Khojas and Boras came to India. And now, away, thousands of miles away, he's talking of persecution of Muslims in India to get Muslim votes in New York. And he actually did
Okay.
end up in an election. So you think there's
So
any
give me a
secret
moment
about what
before
they
I
talk
bring
about?
in General Dua and Mr. Sahai. I want to cut across and bring in India Today's Aishwarya Paliwal, who's joining us after this Cabinet Committee on Security meeting and briefing. Aishwarya, explain the significance of the government after the CCS meeting, officially now calling it an act of terror. How do things change in terms of action that will be taken against the perpetrators? Do we see special courts and time-bound action now?
Well, definitely, Gaurav, let me tell you, this is very, very clear message which is now coming in from the government. The government now saying that this is an act of terror, something that all the teams at the moment were also pointing towards the fact, the funding which came in, the way in which we are now seeing people being added, people who now are being told what exactly to do. The idea was to kill as many people as possible. So this is a clear statement, a crisp and a short statement coming in from the government of India. And that is why, Gaurav, let me tell you, the meeting that took place almost half an hour with Home Minister Amit Shah, MD NSA Ajit Doval and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the three of them sat and they had a half an hour meeting. What needs to be done next? Now, this is something which is very, very crucial, something that the government will now very keenly will have to look at. And from what I can also understand at the moment, we will also tell other countries the action that India will now be taking, because this is something, Gaurav, and you also understand it very well, that this is something that the government of the country does not take very lightly. There are lives that have been lost, and there was a larger plot that was being made. There were different states.
Absolutely. In fact, that is the Cabinet Committee on Security. The decisions that have been taken, the information that's been put out in public domain. General Dua, you've operated in Kashmir very extensively, sir. Are you surprised that there are these multiple doctors from Kashmir and doctors from Uttar Pradesh, from well-to-do families, a brother-sister duo, very well off, and the doctor from Hyderabad, and these are all elements in different entities plotting to kill fellow Indians?
The short answer, Gaurav, is no.
You're not surprised?
Excuse me.
Wow. Go on, sir.
The short answer, I'm sorry, I'll start again. The short answer, Gaurav, is no. I'm not surprised. because in the past also we have seen, more than a decade ago, when it was the IM, Indian Mujahideen, along
Yes.
with Simi, they were engineers. It was not white collar terrorism at those days also. Then we had a couple of engineers entering the Hizbul Mujahideen in Kashmir while I was serving there in Kashmir. So we have seen this happen off and on. Then we've also, after abrogation of Article 370, approximately 5 years ago, we started seeing a new term called the hybrid terrorist, which has now morphed
Yes.
into a white collar terrorism. So I'm not surprised that this is happening. In fact, it actually focuses us towards this angle also. We should not only look at terrorists from a certain strata of society. We should be aware and conscious of the fact that we will get more and more terrorists from this places where or such strata that we may be a little unsuspecting of. And I think to add one sentence to what you were asking your own news reporter, uh, the government, the Prime Minister during Operation Sindoor or before Operation Sindoor had said that any act of terrorism will be treated as an act of war. That was a very clear,
Yes.
crisp statement. And now that the CCS has declared, after due investigation and diligence, that this is an act of terror, I am sure we are going to see very concrete action. Where, when, and how, we will have to leave it to the leadership to decide.